we have, this is all of week 12. This happens to be day 32 or thereabouts, I think pretty close. Tech Talk Wednesday. Wednesday, artificial intelligence, data encryption, basic defenses, tools for security. Let's get. This is great. This is a reply all from Gimlet. Podcast, approximately an hour. It's a little over an hour, in fact. It's really good. I'm talking about a number of different facets of, it has to do with security and things that happen out on the web, the deep web, and so forth. Not required, but you could do this instead of the hacking one in the outline. Encryption. We have some algorithm. We supply a key, and then we can encrypt. You can have a block of data encrypted, so it cannot be read. It can only be decrypted by a key. There's a couple ways to approach that. We looked at some examples in class. Pretty good encryption. We did that. Linux, we encrypted. Another way to do it, this is a shared key, or we can use a key pair. Okay, difference between shared keys or a key pair. Key pair is you use two keys, one to encrypt and one to decrypt. Only you know the private key, and you can share the public key. So, we have an example here. You can take this information and let's just say you're going to send the information here. You can encrypt the information, and then over here it can be decrypted. So you're using key. And then it can hash it. We can hash it here, send over the hash, and if the hash is matched, we have integrity, and we've protected the data so it wouldn't be read. Now, in a little bit, let me give you another example. Use a different color. You have two parties here. This party could send you their public key. You can encrypt it, send it over. Now they can only decrypt it with their private key. Works pretty good, as long as they don't let anybody have their private key. And then I'll use another color. You could send over to them your public key, and then you could use your private key here to encrypt part of the message, or you could encrypt the hash, send it over. They could decrypt the hash and make sure the hashes match. They could decrypt it with your public key, but the only person that could have encrypted it was you with your private key. So that is like a digital signature. Alright, let's keep moving. We had some project work. Students signed up to work on some of this. That was on the Wednesday, in which we had the artificial intelligence tech talk. So So this is still week 12. This would be day 33, and the students worked. I was at the Tech Talk, and the students worked on their projects. Friday, and this is, yeah, the end of week 12, day 34. Talk to students about making sure they get their spring schedules taken care of. We got a Tech Den coming up Tuesday. Intro to computers, and we reviewed being open to new ways of learning, being persistent for the long haul, persistence, the whole idea of grit. Do you have internal motivation? Do you have the right attitude? Autonomy, purpose, and mastery. All tied in here. We talked a little bit about flow. Then metacognition. To think about how you think. This leads to deep learning. Working hard at the learning and not just the doing. This is where learning really exists. You not only do the work, but you try to understand it, or you think more deeply about what you're learning. Of course, it's got to have a purpose. You have a purpose. It's up to you to do it. You have autonomy, and you want to work towards mastery, deep learning. And in order to do that, you got to be persistent. You got to think about the long haul. And you got to probably think differently than you did in the past. Okay, we talked about a firewall. Firewall, okay? It blocks anything trying to come in unless, we talked about this earlier, you create a path for something to go in. For example, this address is allowed through the firewall so you can get to that server. This is an example of another server. We are not using that one right now, but we're using this one. Okay? And actually, this path goes down to here, to this web server. So this really isn't true. It goes here. This is called, by the way, DMZ, Demilitarized Zone. It's a place we can let other people in, but we don't let anybody into our main network. Alright. Last page. Security policies. Privacy. It's interesting. Anybody who collects data on the internet is required to have some type of security policy so the users understand how that data is going to be used, protected, and so forth. We talked a little bit about net neutrality. Students looked it up. The basic definition's not hard. We can't, I'll use the word discriminate. We can't decide, the internet, the tier 1 providers and the ISPs, internet service providers, can't decide that one group will get certain access and another group different access, more or less deciding who can get access, which eventually then could become a situation for those who can afford it and those who can't. Now, net neutrality is gone, right? So We haven't seen any big effects, at least from my point of view, but it'll be interesting in the future. Last thing here, we talk about 5G is coming. Supposedly, what I've read, pretty fast. Not sure what that will cost. We would have to upgrade our phones, or you might need to get a hotspot. Then you would connect to the hotspot with your phone, and then the hotspot would connect into the 5G network. Controversy on this because new bandwidth, new frequencies, I should say it that way. New frequencies have to be bought. Who can afford to buy them, etc., etc. That's it for today.